This is the second part of my series of videos showing how I'm making the latest two carriages of the GWR standard gauge side corridor type from the 1890s. And this is D12, the brake third. There's the brake section, there's the third class section, and the previous video ended with me having made this, extruded this mesh. If we have a look at it in the smooth and highlights, there it is, a solid mesh, and also having assembled these pieces along here and below the doors and making all the various printing out the polygons. So what I'm going to do now is, before I texture any of this, I just want to spin this round a bit. Let's just make sure I've got the right one. That's the one I'm after there. I think it is. Yes, there it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clone the whole thing and move it to the side. Now that's going to make the other side, but of course the curve at the bottom has to go the other way. So it's on these that I'm going to do the rotation. And in fact, what I think I know I've got other copies of it up here, but I'm just keeping that as insurance. Many's the time I've made a mistake and it's been not very helpful to have to redo the whole thing. So let's just move that away there, and let's come in here, and for each of these now, and that includes these ones which are the lower part below the framing below the door, because they're angled in the other direction, the opposite direction. So I'm just going to spin these, make sure I'm going to follow the angles here, make sure I've got it set for 5 degrees. Just going to spin those 180 degrees, and you can see that didn't spin very well because it's clearly the centering wasn't right. So I'm going to take that back, and let's just affect the pivot center. There it goes, align it to the world, and now if we spin it we should be fine. Except we're not, but that's because the center of that curved piece here is not the same as the center there, because we're spinning it around that center, not around the center of that one, which if I click on it you'll see, and then I center the pivot, you'll see the center is here in between the 2 inches of, so it's an inch either way, but on this one of course it's, because it's wider, the center is further over. So we're going to move everything back in a moment. So but it's pretty straightforward, and what I do next, well in fact what I do is make sure I've got everything centered, and just spin that one. Okay, and then because the center of that also, if we look here and we zoom in, oops, and we zoom in here, you'll see there that that's out of line now as well. So those two, we're going to have to adjust all of those when we get there, but we get there we will. So let's just click on all of these for a moment, just select them all one after the other, and to save ourselves a bit of time and we're going to center all of those, make sure they're centered, yeah, and now we just go in and rotate. There we go. I'm watching down here to get the 180 degrees, and that means all of these bottom of the door pieces will be in the same alignment, and these curved pieces will also be in their own alignment. And then we just move them as groups, not even as groups, just pick them up as multiples and move them back into position. It's not a big deal. So we're just getting there now, constantly checking bottom right there to see that I've got the correct angle. It soon becomes pretty obvious if you haven't, but I know on this sort of thing it's very straightforward, but okay, there we are, that's all. So let's just do those before we go any further, and you can see all of those pieces, all those green pieces there have all come out. They're all positioned one in the same alignment as each other, and I'll move that across. There we are. So that's now, let's just zoom a bit closer. It's not too bad at all. Oops. There we go. And then these are the bottoms of the doors. Let's pick that up and zoom in a bit. Make sure we're moving in the right axis. There we are. And now if we have a look over here we can see they're all ready. So we've got two meshes there, plus the other one. That's our emergency safety super backup reserve mesh. And let's just push that a little bit further up out of the way. There's our curved piece. Oops. Doesn't really matter where, but let's just get that out of the way as well. Okay, so now we're going to have a look at these. Now these are, that now gives us our complete side there. So the way in which we're going to do that now is we're going to attach it all together, get the right viewpoint, and let's go into smooth and highlights. You can see they're different colours, but they're all going to end up this colour, because what we're going to do is we're going to select our side, and remember we've removed unnecessary, a fair number of the unnecessary polys, not quite all of them. We can choose attach, and let's just start attaching. And very quickly you can see that everything is attaching together, forming one single mesh. And the changing colour is obviously because of the change in the lighting, but as you can see there we are. Okay, now comes the fun bit, or the bit when you suddenly realise you've made some awful mistake on the texture. So there's the side, so we're going to texture the whole thing with the side. Just click on it and unwrap. Okay, well, it looks pretty weird. Okay, but that's not going to worry us, because the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure that, if you can see here, look, it's overshooting the texture. If we zoom out a bit, and you can see, so we'd have to move it up anyway to cover the texture correctly. But also all of these edges, the inside edges, will all sort of have these wacky colours and designs on them. So we want to reduce those down to a bland, dark colour. So what I do is I choose a bit of the texture and let's continue reducing that to about square, and then I just bring the whole thing down and then move it over until everything is coloured like that, which looks pretty awful, but it means all those edges there are dark as far as that's concerned. And you can see there we've got a reasonable size. So now if we go back into wireframe, and now we've got to be a bit patient because we need to select faces. Okay, so lose that. Let's zoom in a bit. You've got to get used to looking through things into other meshes, by the way, when you're doing this. And we'll take this side, which is the main bit of the mesh that we made. That's the front edge. You can see there's the black back edge in the white, and holding down the control key I'm adding all of these outer faces. And you've just got to be patient doing this, make sure you get the right ones. Just takes a few minutes to do. And there we go. So basically what I'm doing is I'm selecting all of those outer facing edges of the mesh, all those outer facing faces over the mesh, and just keep clicking along. As I say, I'm sure there's another way, a better way of doing this. This is the way I like doing it. And if we now just show the faces that we've selected, and let's planar map that whole thing. There we are. It's jumped right into position. Look, there's the guards tumble home. These are all the correct places for gaps for the windows and the doors. Let's have a look at it. There we are. And what we've got here, this is, always look out for anything that looks a bit odd, and that looked a bit odd to me immediately. See there, that's not. So let's make sure we've got texture correction on, we do, but it still doesn't look quite right to me. So let's go back into the edit, let's have a look there. Yeah, it's a bit far over. So you can usually get away with a little bit of this, a little bit of tweaking. You've got to be careful because you start to disrupt the position of the other. See there, look. That's not right, is it? No, it doesn't look right at all. So what I'll do is I'll go back, jump it back, and let's have a go at, see if I can get away with doing this. If I can do this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move them together. Look, still doesn't look right, does it? So it's at this point when you realise, oh dear, I've got to redo the texture a bit. Let's go in here. Oh, look at that, it's awful, isn't it? Texture correct this. Oof, that's way wrong. Definitely. Yeah, that's correct, that's 2 foot. So let's have a look. Edit, see if I can jump it back. And I just realised, of course, that it is correct as it is. That I have done it correctly. That although that looks odd, it's because there is a door going in there, and that lining does come around there, and then we've got this piece here. This is actually the tumble home, so that's going to come across there and around there. So we're okay. No, that is all right. And don't need to worry about that. What else do I need to do? Well, there is something else you need to do. What I need to do for this, and that is put the interior in, because it's not dark like that. It's teak panelled, which is really nice. Feature of all these carriages. They've got lovely teak panelling in the days when you could buy teak for next to nothing, and the poor old forests of everywhere in the world was pillaged for making things like this. So let's go, I'm going to take a clone, and okay, and I'm going to change the texture to teak panel. There we are. And that looks pretty weird, so not going to worry about that at the moment. What I am going to do is I'm going to reduce it so it's just the inner faces, because that's all I want. So there it is. And the way I'm going to do that is by deleting vertices. So let's come over here, collapse all, vertex, and I'm going to take away all of the vertices related to all the other faces apart from this inner facing face. You can probably do multi materials here. I don't bother. Couldn't be bothered. I just lose interest when it becomes something like this. So there we are, there's the teak panel. And what we're going to do is we're going to select a face and select the faces, and the faces I want are there, and make sure I've got the ones I want. I think that's all of them. Let's have a look, and let's just planar that. It looks like I've picked up everything. And now if I pull back, I'll pull this out and pull back, and then use the expanding proportion. And what I'm looking to do is to make the doors look, or the windows, but we make the doors look they are in the proportion of 6:2. I just do it by eye. I think that's about right. Let's have a look. Yeah, that looks nice. And there's the teak, and there's no depth to it at all. And now what I can do is, or what I've got to do now is I've got to take away all the inner faces for this, and then I'm going to move that down. Probably worked that out already. So let's start selecting faces. Make sure you select the inner faces. So we'll take that one out, for example. Oh, it's taking everything out. select a face. Oh, of course that's wrong, isn't it? I've got to select the polygons. That's right. So select the correct polygon, delete that, have a quick look. Yeah, look, you can see most of that's one already. And then, just like we did on the other side, we just select these inner facing polygons. Where we were selecting faces, we're now selecting the polygons themselves. Because we're not texturing, we're actually deleting. Okay, just get rid of those, and then move this along to here. That's it. And did we? I think we just took that one out, didn't we? Yeah. So here we go. And you do get used to doing this, but initially it can be very frustrating. You just sort of get an eye for doing it, deleting the correct pieces. Now, actually, this isn't the whole story, as we're going to see, because of course the ends, it's not only the sides that are curved in, the ends are curved in, coming this way. So maybe I should have done that before I even got this far, but yeah, I just wanted to show how the let's make that different colour so as to identify it. Get the texture in, you know, just to see what it's like. And now I'm going to position that vertically according to this one. Hopefully X, no. That will take it into the middle of the depth. Y, no, Z. There we go. And let's have a look, see what we've got. We've got teak panelling on the inside, and we got the lying out and everything on the outside, and then we've got black here. Problem that we haven't got is the curve here and here, and you can see on the texture that that's allowed for, but on the mesh I haven't done it. So I suspect you've realised what I should have done is that before I actually put the mesh on, put the texture on the mesh. What the heck. So I'm going to do it now. You're never going to remember all the things, so let's unhide everything else. And what we want to do is to use an end, because that gives us the standard curve. Here we are, look. There's a couple of the ends. Look a bit weird, don't they? Let's pick up one of these ends. That looks like it. Let's have a look in here. Actually, what we might do is just do that. It's probably got it anyway, but just to make sure, and then we'll just take a copy of that and then just move it up into position. Yeah, thank you for a clone. And what do we want? We want the side, don't we? Here we are. There's the end. And I'm going to use, take it into wireframe, because then that's when we get to see the edge of the whole thing. And then we just want to zoom it along, position it over the end of our mesh, make sure it's precisely there. Is that the right bit? Make sure that it is. Let's have a look. I think I might have just moved the teak. No, I think I'm there. I think that's okay. Yeah, that looks alright. And now what I need to do is, in the Y position, just move that, excuse me, move that up to there, make sure we're in. Okay, and then I'm going to edit this mesh and bring in these vertices. So one can come in there. I've made these all standard. From the first coach that I did, I then just cloned and copied and followed the same curvature. Not like that. Indeed, the one above isn't quite on. Oh, for goodness sake, come on. What are you at? There we are. Bring that in. And that one in there. This one still needs to go a little way. need to be reasonably precise. I don't make a big deal of it. And then of course we've got the teak texture in the background, so there it is. We do it again. And these. And this. And here. Okay, what's that one? It must be the other. What's that? Pink. I might just move this one. Yeah, I think I have it. So what I need to do is pick up this. Of course, looking through it, I need to look from the other side because it's just 2D. Here it is. Collapse the wall. Vertices. Here we go. All the fun of the vertices. And yeah. Oops. Let's pick them all up. Of course, by doing it before texturing, you actually save a lot of time. Because yeah, all the shapes are finally finished. Going back and doing the shapes again, and then you'll see I'll have to replanar the shapes. It's a bit annoying, but every time that I do it, I always forget. So this one now, we can move this. This is our guide. Which way is it going to go? Yeah, it's going to go the right way. Amazing. Okay, and then we'll spin it round. 180. And it's over here now, so we can bring it into position. And adjust accordingly. Oh, it's going to be that one first. Yeah, so that'll save a lot of hassle. And of course I could only have done that once I'd rotated these anyway, so. Okay, and then we've got that one. That one's the one we just done, so like that. Yeah, we can do that one. Can't remember which one. Oh, that must be the other. Yeah, that's the body, the outer, the depth and the outer texture. So the pink behind it there is the teak panelling. So we do this, move this to right, and then we'll be able to adjust the teak panelling as well. You can see it's not absolutely 100% zoom right in, bang on perfect. And I've discovered that when you're doing these, it's the overall look, and these sort of very fine, very rarely show up in the model to any significant degree. Okay, so there we are. So we've actually done the end curve, and we go back here and cycle round, and I take that end piece. I can just get it out of the way now. But of course, I've round the world for a shortcut. I've not saved myself any time because this is now wrong. This here is now wrong. So back into wireframe, and we're on. Make sure we pick up this one. Yeah, and go back to selecting the outer face, and guess what? got to pick up all these other faces as well, which is what I was saying about if I'd have done that, altered the shape of the mesh before I did this, it would have been a lot more sensible. But you know, it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon and it's a busy day. Make sure I got all of those. I'm not sure that I did. Let's go right in. So you tend to forget things after you've been doing other things. So here we go, we're picking up all of those faces. And remember, all of the depth, all of that sort of, those faces in there, and the depth inside the windows, all in that nice dark colour, which is perfectly okay. And now let's have a look at, let's just see about our edit again. Let's zoom out and we'll just show the ones we've selected. That's what that does. And now these should actually come in at each end and nothing else should really change. Here we go. Plain on that, there we are. And let's have a look at it. Yeah, looks alright, nothing's really, you know, gone crazy. Yep, that looks okay. Okay, so that's that one done, and let's save it for goodness sake, after all this work. Save as, and it's D12 version 1.1. Yes, you want to replace it. Now the only other thing we got to do, the other thing we've got to do is, well, the teak panelling is probably okay, it looks okay, but I do tend to like to make sure it's all properly done. So luckily, because I'd selected earlier, if I go into wireframe, look, it remembers that the worst faces are selected. So if we go back into edit on that, you remember how much I stretched it, and these are still vertical, so that's the problem. That's not right. So I'm going to planar map it, takes it back to there, but now I'm going to stretch it out again. You can see these are now curved. Stretch it out until it looks like 6 foot by 2 foot is about the correct proportions. That's what I do. And then we can have a quick look here, smooth and highlights. Yeah. Okay, and the last thing to do on this one is to pick up both, and you know you got both because there's multiple selected, and group them together. Okay, and we'll save that again. Now, having done all of that on that one, I'm going to do the same on this one. But because we've already altered the, adjusted all the, rotated all of these curved pieces and got them into the correct position and adjusted the ends here, I should spend less time faffing about with the texture. So, now, pick up our side and let's attach all the bits to it. There we go. Just clicking away here as we go along. Alrighty. And what I'll do now is, you have to attach as a toggle, you have to turn it on and off. Otherwise you sort of find yourself not attaching it. Oh, that's the wrong way. Go up. That's going to be our teak. Okay, so here we go, and let's bring that back, and let's select side and apply it. And we might as well, while we're at it, select teak for that one as well. Okay, so for this one, and it will appear, that's it when we unwrap. So for this one, what we have to do is, as before, somewhat as before, we've got to, well, first of all, we're going to take the whole thing, squish it in from side to side, I'm sure there's a technical term, and close that up. Bring it in, so it's all that dark colour. Okay, and then we're going to select the outer faces. Here we are, there's one, and then we've got to do all this again. It's fun. That's what you have to keep telling yourself. You have to keep an image of a finished vehicle in your head and keep telling yourself it's worth it. It's worth all this hassle. And it is. So here we go. We're picking up all the outer faces. If it looks confusing, well, it is. But you get an eye for which faces you need to select. The more you do, the better you'll be at it. And I would really recommend, if you're not already making your own models, I mean, Gmax is a handy way of doing it. I find it far more intuitive than Blender, which I never really got into. I suppose it's just whatever you used to. Blender is brilliant, it's all sorts of extra bells and whistles, but good old Gmax is enough for me, I must admit. Okay, so now we just want to have only those and planar map them, and whoa! So what we need to do is to flip that, and we need to alter it in the vertical. Now let's zoom in, make sure we're altering it correctly in the vertical. And let's have a look at our side. Yeah, looks alright. See, that's that weird business around the tumble home. Not the tumble home, the ducket. Yep, that looks okay. So I'm just going to go back into collapse that wireframe. Let's go in here. This is the one we're working on. You see how many versions I've got running. Save it. Remember, you can't save it enough. And polygons. So we want that one. Let's start at this end where they're a bit more easy to see. So we've taken the interface and then once you select our row, you can delete some as you go if you like. It's not a problem. It's just however confident you feel. The more you select, of course, the more the possibility that you're going to make a mess. Let's delete them, get them out of the way. Let's zoom in. Oop. There's a limit to the zoom in perspective mode, unfortunately. What I have found though is if you're making something really small, I think it was when I was doing lampposts, that if you make them, not so sure about that there. We've got a piece missing. So maybe because we've got it here as well, a piece missing. It's going to be hidden, but no, we haven't. It's going to be hidden by the side. In fact, I think all of those panels could come out. But anyway, let's have a look. Yeah, and this is going to be our, up here is our teak. So first thing I'm going to do there is, before I worry about the way the texture's fitted, I shall delete everything that relates to the outside. And there. Right. And now if we go to unwrap, there's our teak. And if we select the face, let's just zoom in here. This is the beginning of getting in the way now, but it doesn't matter while we're doing this. Let's just select the face. Okay, edit, and here we are. And we're just going to select that and planar it, and let's flip it and move it down into position. Zoom back out, let's pull that out of it, and stretch it out until we have 2 foot by 6 foot looking doors. I reckon about there. That's close enough. There we are. And then what we can do is just give ourselves a bit of an angle there to work with. Pick up this and position it here, Z. Okay, and let's just have a look at it. There we are. That's our other side. Complete with vent for what's going to be the laboratory window. Everything you need to get started online. Oh, it's my website. One-on-One is my website host. Trying to sell me something. Okay, so go away. Let's come up here. And let's group our other side. So now we've got our left and right hand sides. And of course we're going to do the same with the clerestory. Let's just group those. Okay. And if we look down here, let's hide all of our attachment points. We can see the doors. So, shall we really live dangerously? Don't normally do it this way. Right here. See if I can find the doors. And I think that's where the top of the door should be. So we'll just go in here, and then we'll choose Y. And we're not worried that the doors are in the wrong place at the moment. Let's have a look. Get it right in position. So the door's in the door frame. Always helps. And this one I'm going to move. Quite sure what that is, we'll find out. Oh, it's part of the end. Let's have a look. Now remember, we're building this up from the previous one, which I'm using was 44 foot, so this is 56, so we've got 40 foot up to 56. Yeah, it looks a bit of a mess, doesn't it? So you can see the doors hidden away there. See if we can just pick one up. There's a door. Move it along a bit. Let's have a look here. In the side view. Don't normally do it this way, but it just seems to be suitably lazy. So let's go the other way with it. Let's go over here. And of course these doors are from the previous carriage. So they should be the correct width and height. It doesn't look right, does it? Let's have a look here. Oh yes it does. No, it's not in the correct position though. I wonder where that is. Did I move it by mistake? Yeah, that's over there. Here it is. What a silly door. Let's move it back. Whoa, we've got lots of lines. Which one's the right one? It's not that one. It's that one there, so check it here to be in line with that. Here we are. Let's have a look. Now all that's doing is giving me the correct position of the on the side of the vehicle, but you can see here that obviously there is some something not right there. Have we got a texture for doors? We do. I bet it's that. I'll delete that. Let's have a look. Yeah, definitely not right. That was from an early one, which I'd clearly made a mistake. Because what we're going to do, I think that'll look better once we get the side end piece on. So here, for example, it's grouped. So we'll ungroup that. That's because it's the window, the clasp, and the handle, and that's going to be our door. But I'm going to give it the same texture as the side, as this whole texture here. And if we have a quick look at it, and you can see it's stretched right across the whole width. That's the window. So what we'll do there is just We don't want to alter, well, we do want to alter that middle bit there. That's all the black bits. So let's stick that there, and then let's just select these bits. Right, won't do it, but it will do it for me like this. And then I'm just going to move it. It's meant to be that door there. Okay, and let's just squeeze it in. Move it. That's correct, more or less. But what I have to do is to reduce the height. Because what I've got to do is jiggle about with it now until I get the correct position for the lining. See, that's going to go there. So I'm not going to worry too much more about that at the moment. I am going to come back to it. That will be in the next part. But for this part, to conclude this part, all I want to do now, I'm not even sure that door is what the same sort of curve as this. Let's just have a quick look. I'll hide everything else and have a look at it sideways on. I think this must be one of the early. Yeah, it's way out. My goodness. So let's just pick up the door and correct that. And what I'm going to do is, once I've got one door correct, then I'll just clone them up for all the rest, and in fact delete the others that came with this coach, with this carriage. Yeah, I don't know where I am here with this. My goodness. Hopeless. So let's just move that up to there. And just move that to clear that. Doesn't always. It seems to have a memory sometimes for some of these vertices. And just by a quick back and forth with the mouse wheel, it forces it to redraw the screen. It just tidies up the situation. Once you know what you're doing, you don't get worried about it. There we are, that was better. Let's have a look back there. Yeah. So now, and you can see that the lining isn't lined up yet, but it will be. I'll come back to that in the next part, but in the meantime, unhide all, and let's get, yes, you can see, look, where the other doors have been. So clearly this is an early version which I've decided to use. Never mind. Let's just get the other side in place. At least now all the doors got that hideous yellow look, bilious look about them. Bring that to there. Bring that down to there. I can use the doors, those awful yellow doors, to position my side. That's about all they're good for now. And where are we? X. There we are. Over 2, yeah, 2 inches. And Y. Why not? There we go. I think that's the right position. Let's have a look at the other side so you can get an idea. What I do is I pick up one of these awful yellow doors. Not the yellow door. Move it along. Just give me an idea. Yeah. Okay, they're all going to go. So there we are. So that's the end of this part. As you can see, what I've now got is something that looks pretty bizarre, but you've got the makings there. We've got the underframe done. I haven't worried about the attachment points yet. I'll get them done in a future section. and you can see I've got the roof is too short and the doors I've got to correct, but I'm going to work up this single door here, which is now correct, and once I've got that correctly textured, then I'll just clone it along, and I'll be doing that in the next time. So that's the end of this part. That's the end of part 2, and of course, because it's the end of the part, I must save and save as. Always 2 copies. Third version 1.2, there's 1.1. Okay, so there we are. So that's the end of this section, this video, and hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's been interesting. It's not exactly like watching paint dry, because it is showing how these carriages are constructed and how they're going to come along to really look the part. And I can see here, by the way, another thing I'm going to have to do is correct the frame, because the frame is although it's 56 feet to the edge of the frame, it should be 56 feet to the end of the carriage, and because of that curve in here, it's too long, so I'm going to have to trim it back just a little bit. But there we are, and that's the end of this section, and I hope you've enjoyed it, and please leave a comment or a question, or both. You're very welcome to do so. Please give me a thumbs up if you've enjoyed the video, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel.